What's in the box?
Not till you give me the
What's in
gun.
the fucking box?
Donuts and impeachment. Welcome to the BenBen Show. I'm your host, BenBen. Excuse the lighting, I'm trying something new. Stay fabulous. This episode of the BenBen Show is brought to you by Gay Burger. What's the trans veggie burger? Actually, the trans veggie burger is biologically a hot dog. It identifies as a veggie burger. Right. Okay. I'll just do the 52-year-old man with no children and a wife, 15 years his senior, Hugh Jackman, is straight salad. I like that one. I had a good time doing that. We're also brought to you by Aunt Jemima. May she rest in peace. You want some white sugar, baby? I want some brown sugar. Give it to me. We have that type of relationship, that type of rapport. It's okay. No more Aunt Jemima. Pearl Milling Company, same coloration, same branding, more or less, in terms of the subliminal nature of the red and the yellow, but it won't be Aunt Jemima on the cover, no. And I had this idea of a skit going to the grocery store and having, a woman who's black, who's okay with the whole skit, where am I? Pearl Milling Company. I do declare, child, this ain't good. This is awful. Why are they doing this to me? BenBen, why are they doing this to me, baby? They're doing it because they think that it's racist. But this is who I am. I understand. Where's Uncle Ben? They got rid of him too? No, child! No! Uncle Ben! Oh, so handsome, like Denzel. I know he is, but, the woke people felt that it's just not logical that a chef from, old-timey times could possibly be a small business owner and black. So they said it was racist, which I actually think is racist. Don't you? No way Uncle Ben could possibly have existed in real life. That's a caricature. Why don't you just look it up? Books are lies. Fahrenheit 451. Yeah, that's about book burning in the press. Shut up. Shut your mouth when you talk to me. It's true though. Uncle Ben they got rid of him too, and he's real. It's not a caricature. I hoarded up on these. Look. Like hoarding's like a very carefully curated way of being crazy, but collectibles is different. I don't know if I'll keep them. I bet they'll be $1,000 or something each in like 50 years. Odds of that getting through 3 or 4 different moves and 6 divorces. I just don't think I'm gonna get done. If you want them, please let me know in the comment section below. I'll send them to you. Happy to do it. On my Patreon, I think it's like the Aunt Jemima subscription or something. Like I'll give you like content, mention your name and stuff like that. I'll sign these for you and send them to you. Just join. Patreon, check it out on the bottom. Smash that like button. Love me, say that you love me. I know that you need me. I don't care about anything but you, and also you, other subscriber, and you. But yeah, this is bizarre. I don't really, it's a social engineering mechanism, like terraforming of crazy wokeness. It's nothing to do with like people actually care. I've never met someone who's like, my mom used to use Aunt Jemima syrup. I used to tell her that's wrong. When was this? 15 years ago? Really? You told your mom that was racist? Yeah, I did. I said that's racist. In what context did you think it was racist? It doesn't matter, BenBen. I know it's racist. Okay? Don't talk to me that way. I told my mother, and she's a little whore, and she wouldn't get new syrup. Like, what other syrup would you use? I don't know, Log Cabin? Mrs. Butterworth? That's Mrs. Butterworth kind of has that same kind of rotund. Are you fat shaming? Mrs. Butterworth it's ambiguous. She could be a heavyset woman that's beautiful and white. You don't know. I guess you're right. It seems like a knockoff, though, of Aunt. Shut up, BenBen. Racist. This is where we are. Corporatism is afraid of a mob that isn't real. It's just on the internet. It makes you wonder, is it really there? Or is it being pushed by other corporate? What if you what was that, the guy that was trying to It was going on all the message boards when Whole Foods was not called Whole Foods. There was a competitor called Wild Oats, or Wild Oats was Whole Foods. Anyway, the competitor to Whole Foods was going on trashing Fresh Fields. Wild Oats is the other one. Fresh Fields is the old name for Whole Foods. And he was going online on the message boards talking shit about, acting like a customer, about Fresh Fields, which is now Whole Foods. Did I get and then now it's also Amazon Whole Foods. He was doing the same thing. What's to stop companies from like subversively undermining their competition through like seemingly, let's just create a bot of 55 different people with at least, let's give them tenure. Let's do this in advance so it looks organic. Start creating profiles and trashing brands that compete with us and calling them racist. That's a good idea. Why not? Corporate espionage in the most legitimate place in the world, social media, where everyone just follows along. Cracker Barrel is under fire for a fake story from someone that could have just been the same deal. Not that I think there's anyone competing with Cracker Barrel like McDonald's got together. Said, our margins are fucking Cracker Barrel. All these kids are going on field trips, side of road in random rural places like Middleburg, Virginia. We have to cake out Cracker Barrel. What are we gonna do? There's a whip. There's a whip in the logo, and there's a barrel. It's a barrel of crackers. White people, crackers, whips, black people, racism. Yeah, good idea. Oh my God. Yeah, I got money to go to the strip club tonight. I want a bonus, $55,000. Yeah. Sorry. No, but that's the thing. This guy came up with this fake idea that the barrel on the depiction in the logo is a bunch of whips that white people use, and because it has this old-timey like Southern thing to it, Cracker Barrel, this guy that had, it's racist, and this is about cracking whips on slaves. It's not true. The Cracker Barrel is just like a table for eating barrels of crackers, maybe some cheese, maybe a nice bottle of Chianti. I don't know. It's just like, why would that take people grab onto that? Well, they would because it's angst. They like this. Oh my God, that black baby was shot 35 times. The police officer thought he was just selling crack. That police officer should be killed. So should his children. I hope that happens. Oh man, is the new Tyler Perry movie out? Let's go. So yeah, it's just like weird. It's very like synthetic. How do you know that Twitter trending topics are real? How do you know anything about the algos that you see every day? Oh, this is what's real. This is what people are thinking about. I better inform myself. If I'm not part of this or don't agree with this, you feel less than. You feel like ostracized. You feel alienated. And the only connection you can get is through the internet now with this pandemic going on. And it further emphasizes this point, like, I don't want to feel lonely and like kind of like isolated. I better just join the crowd. It's helped push everything forward. The watering hole for Scuttlebutt, local store, can't go to the store because of the pandemic. Private property being taken by the government via the pandemic because you're going out of business and you're now on the dole, you're forced to. It's not like you're lazy or whatever, or that you actually have legitimate reason. No, you can't open your doors because of the pandemic. Your children are being taught in schools X, Y, and Z is racist. Certain thoughts can't be said. Certain words can't be uttered. How is this not Marxism 101? It's very disturbing. It's very, very disturbing. Control the means of information. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, check. We landed on the moon. We didn't land on the moon. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. I don't know. Trump and Russia colluded in 2016. Sure, fine. 2020, Biden may have worked with corporations to undermine the election. Shut! Oh my, you shut. I'm gonna staple your lips shut, you little fucker. That's what they're doing. It's okay. That's okay. There's a whole New York Times article about this. Mark Benioff, who's kind of like apolitical, but sat at I think it was the 2020 CES with Ivanka Trump there. He's kind of, I think he's bought it from a Meredith Corporation run by the Koch brothers, and I think he's kind of like, I don't know, stirring the pot a little bit, because the Time magazine New York Times never would publish something like this, but Time published this whole thing about how corporations got together and undermined the election. We'll talk about it in a second. But I want to keep talking about Twitter a little bit more, a little bit about social media. I hope Cracker Barrel's okay. They have 600 stores in 45 states. I really do hope they're okay. MyPillow founder Mike Lindell was attacked by David Hogg, the Parkland shooting survivor, for his basically his comments about the election. Not so much about Trump. People have known Mike Lindell's been with Trump for a while, but the election stuff has been particularly It's a current event. It's frustrating. People don't care for that. And so David Hogg has somehow gotten a platform to attack him and now says that he's going to start a rival pillow company called Good Pillow. He says for a while he's wanted to do this. It seems very apropos. For a while you want to start a pillow company? Okay. Well, I hope it's not a dropshipping company, David, because the margins will kill you. You should probably start something, in the United States, obviously, you have to. You can't say you're going to start a rival pillow company with Mike Lindell and have your stuff made in China. But Puerto Rico has a 4% corporate tax rate cap, so that should help you. Your margins are going to kill you, though, I think, in the long run. You start to realize this, like the variable cost if you grow. Market cap of 10 to 100 million, because you're probably going to have the help of Silicon Valley, I imagine, which are the smartest entrepreneurs in the entire world. And they're all doing this because they all think the same, and they want to help you. And you've been smart. You got yourself into Harvard. All this you've taken. You have done well for yourself, taking the horrible thing that happened and using it to benefit, you're an opportunist in that regard. People have taken advantage of you, adults, as a spokesperson for gun control and all these things, which is kind of fucked up. But again, in the real world, there's no such thing as I'm sorry, no such thing as fair. It's a war. And so this is what's going on. And so you can have these morals, this integrity at face value, but you should also know the other team is playing these very subversive games, these really messed up, morally questionable games with children, with school shootings, with whatever. I mean, transgender rights for a child who can't legally condone sex with an adult, but they can determine that they want to be a man, woman, or child, and if they're not, they can be removed from your home in Canada. That idea. Or that using some pronouns incorrectly from a 5-year-old's, hey, you can get in trouble for that. Weird things, strange things. And all the while, Brooke Shields was 14 in Blue Lagoon, pushing sexualization of children's okay in that regard. So weird. It's just a little gross, I'm just saying. It's a little gross. Rap industry, music, it's okay to say faggot this, faggot that, as long as you're making records, selling it to 30% of the population, which is white. But anyone that uses a racial epithet or a homophobic remark outside of the rap industry, which is run by Jewish gay men, for the most part, white Jewish gay men, you're going to get in trouble. We're going to fuck with you. The hypocrisy is endless. But I don't blame David. I blame the game. It's not he's smart. This is what he's doing. People are telling him what to do. They're right. But they shouldn't really do it. They're adults and they're using a child. Glad they use, Harvard's good. That's great. I want him to be successful and I want him to be happy. But this is a very sick little game we're playing. Louis C.K. said it right. Like a bunch of children telling us what to do and legislate. Like, you can't do that. You can't say that. Who the fuck are you? You should be trying to get Blue Jays or something under the bleachers at your high school. You're worried about gun control, talking about economics and blah 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 blah. Are you aware that most shootings happen with handguns? You're trying to ban all assault rifles. You don't know the difference. It's crazy. Handguns are semi-automatic too. Did you know that? Most of them. I mean, it's just but I'm going to get into the gun control thing. I want to keep talking about Twitter. And I want to talk about using Twitter and social media to gain power. Athletes are doing this too. Trent Williams did it with the Redskins. He was the first to do it. He used race, medical treatment that wasn't allegedly proper, according to him, and then combine that with racism somehow to try to get a contract with the Redskins, try to enrich himself towards the end of his career as a 31-year-old tackle. Jonathan Ogden, I think, was 31 when he retired. Chris Samuel also happened to be with the Redskins, top-tier tackle. Also, both of those guys, Jonathan Ogden and Chris Samuel, are DC area. I don't know why, but this so happens two of the greatest all-time tackles in history of the game happen to play for teams in the DC metropolitan area. Anyways, they also retired around the same age, 31, 32 years old. And here's a guy coming off all these injuries, Trent Williams, starting to drop games played per season towards the end of his career, trying to make money for himself. And he justifies saying that the Redskins are racist, not their name, the way they treated him, because of his race. He implied that his medical treatment for cancer was they were running him into the ground, they were lying to him so he just would play and put his life at risk. But he used social media as a platform for this, which I feel like he saw from the way FedEx forced the Redskins' hands to change their name. He saw this ability to take this weaponized the subs or the customers of a team and say, I can push their hand. That's how FedEx did it, because they saw people that were ready to drop FedEx, and FedEx said, we're going to drop you, FedEx Field, Washington Redskins, whatever, and we're not going to sponsor it. It's tens of millions of dollars to Daniel Snyder and the owners. That's the way it happened. And now Russell Wilson, now Deshaun Watson are kind of doing the same thing for power purposes. Hey, you got to let me know about personnel decisions. You got to tell me about personnel decisions. That I want more say. Oh, well, you're an employee. But you also are not even talking about that with your team privately. As an employee, imagine if you worked for a company and every time you had a grievance, you just went to the news station and said, I don't really like what they're doing. I want more money, or I want more power. Fuck you. Deshaun Watson, 4 years, $156 million contract in September 2020, signed it. And now he's upset. He wants more power because they hired Nick Caserio of the Patriots, one of the best organizations for determining talent, to be a general manager without him telling him. That's what he says. They also interviewed, ESPN did, Brett Favre, prefacing one of these stories. Hey, what do you think about the Deshaun Watson thing? I don't know. You didn't have to sign the contract. I would just play and shut up, more or less is what he said. And then they asked Stephen A. Smith's take on it, and he just framed it in race. Of course he did. It's just, they put a T-ball on a thing and set it up for Stephen A. to talk about race. Old white men get a quote, sound bite, boom. Well, you know what? I'm surprised. I don't think Brett Favre had any intent. I was talking to Stephen A. Smith. No intent to be racist. I don't believe he was trying to be insensitive, but I'm just surprised, given the climate that we're in right now, that Brett Favre would say that. What fucking climate? I mean, he's saying that you're an employee, you just signed a contract, you didn't have to, and now you're saying after the fact you want more say about personnel decisions. Is that in your contract? Is that a stipulation? Then shut the fuck up. Sure, you're allowed to whine, but the fact that people are like jumping on the bandwagon and putting this in the frame of race, that like if he was a white quarterback, he'd be able to choose the general manager. It's absurd. Absolutely absurd. Look at the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love situation. They drafted a black quarterback, or I think he might be mixed race, whatever, in the first round last year. Matt LaFleur and the Packers did, with a former MVP at the time, now he's the reigning MVP, starting, and they still drafted a quarterback who looks like a young Mahomes type player, potentially, if he can read defense. We don't know, but athletically, just absurd athlete. It seems like a nice young man too, Jordan Love. And what if Aaron Rodgers was black and Jordan Love was white? You don't think they would run that like Stephen A. Smith, and there we go again, another situation where you have a good black quarterback as your starter, and then you have to get the white young quarterback to come in because the black quarterback isn't enough. I am sick and tired of this. Oh, racism. Black quarterbacks in the league are not getting respect, period. They would totally say something like that. I guarantee you, it wouldn't have to necessarily be him, but that would be a tilt of that. If Jordan Love was white and Aaron Rodgers happened to be black and they drafted Jordan Love in the first round. Guarantee you, not because they believe it, because it sells. But there's no journalistic integrity in sports journalism, obviously. There's no journalistic integrity at TMZ, but they've morphed because the bifurcation of media has forced companies to give up. Print journalism's dead. There's so much competition, we have to sell shit. As I've said before, the F-35 Raptor from Lockheed Martin's over budget. Objectivism, that's boring as fuck. F-35 Raptor comes down and uses nuclear warheads to attack innocent black baby on street corner. That you will click on 100% every single time. And that makes money. And what does it do? By clicking on it, the average revenue, or I should say the advertisers will be forced to pay that publication more money to advertise because you're getting more clicks. And that's just a cycle. They don't care about what that does to society, how that changes the landscape. They don't care about the moral agency, the collateral damage, the way that it influences people by posting exaggerated hyperboles. They don't care. They care about money. That's the name of the game, period. For the most part. For the most part. The social engineering part of it's a bit higher up. The there's power involved in this subversion of freedoms, and the end of democracy as we know it, or the republic as we know it. Thinking of the Electoral College and not a direct democracy, but even Socrates didn't like a democracy, but whatever. It's a scary time. It's a scary time. Talk about the impeachment trial. Nothing's going to happen, but we should talk about it. House Democrats plan to rush through an impeachment of President Trump, which won't work. Can't work. You need 2/3 majority. That's not the point. That's not why they're doing it. They're doing it because of the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. That's why they're doing it. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment refers to be able to stop a politician or an individual from holding public office if they engaged in insurrection, hence the whole insurrection thing in the beginning. Like the very beginning of January 6th, they were pushing this. This is the agenda. They laid out, using those words, that was the end result. They already had the game plan. Which made me think that some of the people that started storming the Capitol while Trump was still speaking, before he uttered the alleged words that were that insurrected the riot, people were trying to storm the Capitol before. They brought crowbars, not because they were worried they might lock themselves into their car, because they wanted to break into the Capitol. I think they saw a way to socially engineer some people. We're going to start the riot and the march onto the Capitol. And then all the crazies will follow, and then the normal people will follow. Even people, the old granny, hi, it's at the Capitol. I'm gonna wave my flag. Yay, America, freedom, Biden, fraud, whatever. This is all like set up. I really feel like it was set up to get people to storm the Capitol, follow the leader. Oh, well, we're just enacting our constitutional right to protest on private property, private government property. Certain aspects of that, the area is private, like the House chambers and stuff like that. And that day, these are these little careful things that turn things from being, civil disobedience into like fraud, or not fraud, but felonies. That's what I think happened in a nutshell. You don't know who fired first, but I believe the people that had an agenda to. You remember, Antifa wasn't there. They're normally always at these things. They were not there. They were not protesting. There was no Save America antithesis. But I think they were there in the crowd wearing Trump hats. And that was the game. It's like a higher level of warfare. The smart way to do it. And the way this has been prosecuted and put in the news, juxtaposed with what's happened this summer with the shootings, the murders, and all the other stuff, and the burning of buildings and private businesses for the sake of racism and raising awareness for racial inequality, it's a bit disconcerting, considering this one singularity of having a conservative movement go violent compared with all the other BLM and Antifa protests have been incredibly violent and destroyed private property with a tune of $2 or $3 billion since January. Maybe it was since June. And lives lost on both sides. Yet the ones during January 6th are the worst. The ones that are talked about over and over again. Police officers committing suicide after the fact. It's a scary. This is a scary time. The fact that Tim Pool talks about, and I don't think he's doing this to sell his brand and get people more subscribers. I think he really believes that he's going to get kicked off YouTube, and that's why he has his website being built. I think he thinks, hey, if I can get enough publicity right now, we'll be safe because we'll have subscribers. We might even make more money. So most of the people that don't pay will have to come to me to pay, and net that'll balance out the loss of advertising from YouTube itself. But I have to make sure people, hey, I exist. You don't exist unless you have traction. And he has that. But there are a lot of people, perhaps like myself, that don't have that same platform, that have voices that aren't necessarily part of the narrative. They almost laugh at some of the stuff going on, not like that, because like the premise is that it's inherently good and progressive, but it's almost like progressive retardation. Like we're actually going backwards instead of going forwards in terms of progressive theory. Or real liberal, like true liberalism. It's going backwards under the guise that it's good. It's becoming more fascist under the guise that they're fighting fascism. These things frighten me, and they should frighten you. I'm sounding like Tucker Carlson. I do Tucker like, this is real. This is happening. I'm scared. You should be scared too. I want to do a thing like I've always hoped I like meet Tucker. and we kind of like, I want to like, hey, Tuck, can we do a quick selfie picture or whatever, where you do your bad interviewee voice, like, you know, so when he interviews someone he doesn't like, he's always like, but if he's interviewing someone that like is even dumb and they're like just saying stuff that's part of the way he agrees with, he's like, of course, right? But he gives them tons of latitude. But if they're on the other side of the argument, he's like, oh, so what you're saying? So I just want to have one where we're pointing to each other and we're just like, I think that'd be funny. I don't think they do it. I don't know. Seems like an interesting guy, a nice guy. I don't know. But yeah, this is scary. Let me quote University of Chicago Law School's Daniel Hemmerl countered that barring Trump with only a simple majority. That's the key. So that's why the 14th Amendment is more powerful in the impeachment process. Is the 2/3 majority for impeachment, the majority vote for the 14th Amendment and blocking Trump from running ever again. I think he'll pick DeSantis to run in his place, but whatever. That would raise serious constitutional questions. Trump's defenders would no doubt argue that the laws violate the Bill of Attainder clause, and unlike many of Trump's legal arguments, this one would be far from frivolous. That doesn't really matter. That would all be Trump would lose and then have to go to court and civilly fight the assertion that he did not insurrect. But by this time, there's going to be a whole movement and all this, oh, he insurrected, oh, thank God this is safe. He didn't, impeachment didn't work, this is a compromise. Why is he fighting this? Who cares? Then it's not like he would ever get elected again. He's such an idiot. They would just put the amount of movement that's going to be pushed towards this is the compromise. You weren't impeached after leaving office, most bizarre thing I've ever heard, but you will never serve again. Just take it and shut up. That's what I think they're going for. Based on the way they used the word insurrection from the very beginning. It's a very specific word, very, very carefully used. It's like a setup, like they were like planning this. They being, who knows? Intelligence services working with the Democrats, working with Silicon Valley, who knows? I'm just saying, you start talking like this, you sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I don't think it's that conspiratorial, all things being equal. Even, we're going to get to the Times article in a second. Very, very important. But instead, Hemmerl said a better way would be for Congress to set up a judicial proceeding that would determine if someone was disqualified under Section 3 of the amendment. Create a straw man of like points, because this is you have to like prove based on criteria that's vague that he insurrected or caused an insurrection. And so I think that process, still with control of the House and the Senate at the Democrats' hands, is dangerous. Judicial proceeding does seem to make sense, not just a defunct qualifier after losing the impeachment vote because of the Republicans in the Senate. Impeachment will fail because of Republican support. But CNN, Jeff Zucker, and everyone else, Jeff Zucker's in his last year at CNN. He's going to milk this for all he can because Biden's so boring. And, pointing out the executive orders that he's signing that might be leading to dangerous things, it's unsubstantiated until those dangerous things actually occur. The censorship we've already talked about. Okay, what's next? Well, let's wait and see. And here we are. Time Magazine, elite cabal rigged the election. The secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election. I love this article. It's because it's from Time Magazine, and Mark Benoff is this billionaire Salesforce guy that, it's interesting. There might be a future. There's some bright minds on like the central, libertarian movement. I don't know what you want to call someone like Steve Bannon, but there's some smart people that aren't, see a way of gaining power and control for themselves. And the right potentially that are positioning themselves. I think Mark Benoff might be one of these people. Very, very smart guy. The article likely never would have seen the light of day when the publication was owned by the Koch-backed Meredith Corporation. Now that Mark Benoff, the Salesforce billionaire, is in charge, spotted at this CES Talk 2020 in the front row, by the way. He's neither Republican nor Democrat. So unimpeachable. Time Story explains business CEOs and left-wing activists coordinated closely to lobby news media, state lawmakers, social media companies, and voters with targeted messaging campaigns, get out the vote efforts, and protests. They also recruited scores of poll workers. And what those poll workers did, uncertain. Pulling out votes from underneath tables? I don't know. They don't say that. The pact was formalized in a terse, little notice joint statement of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and AFL-CIO published on Election Day. Both sides would come to see it as a sort of implicit bargain, inspired by the summer's massive, sometimes destructive racial justice protests, in which the forces of labor came together with the forces of capital to keep the protests and oppose the Trump assault on democracy. The alliance concerned essentially every aspect of the election, Time notes. They got states to change voting systems and laws and helped secure hundreds of millions in public and private funding, the report says. You recall like the state assembly laws and state assembly versus the local laws in Philadelphia, how they counted votes. They didn't follow the rules or the Constitution. This is very, very interesting. It goes on to detail those efforts, including the cabal that lobbied states to streamline the mail voting process. The coalition also raised cash for polling centers and workers and pressed Congress to steer COVID-19 relief cash to election administrations. They fended off voter suppression lawsuits and recruited armies of poll workers and got millions of people to vote by mail for the first time. They successfully pressured social media companies to take a harder line against disinformation and use data-driven strategies to fight viral smears. Wow. It adds they executed national public awareness campaigns that helped Americans understand how to vote and how the vote count would unfold over days or weeks, preventing Trump conspiracy theories and false claims of victory from getting more traction. After Election Day, they monitored every pressure point to ensure that Trump could not overturn the result. You recall Bernie Sanders going on Jimmy Fallon and basically explaining almost like the playbook for how the Democrats would, or how Trump would not be able to justify losing the election, like that how the votes would come in late. He might be ahead, but then at 3 o'clock in the morning, I believe votes would come. Trump might be ahead. I'm just saying, I don't know. Trump might be ahead up until 2:59 a.m. in Philadelphia, for example. Again, hypothetical. Is my private plane, is it here yet? Okay. But at 3 a.m. exactly, again, I don't know, hypothetical, all of a sudden, 500 million votes will go to Joe Biden. And that's just the way it is, because that's mail-in voting. And we just have to accept that. And Trump might try to fight that reality and stay in office, and that's scary. The American people should know about this. And is my private plane here yet? I think that was a faux pas. I really do. It's very bizarre for him to say that. It's, again, not anything happens in a reactionary sense. There's a game plan. Like using the word insurrection on January 6th is like, I think they had a plan before January 6th. There were people there who were trying to cause trouble. And then, take it for what you will. Were they trying to go to the Capitol? Why not? It's right there. Makes perfect sense. Stop the vote. Stop the vote on the floor. They delayed it by a few hours, but they didn't really care. They hate Trump. They wore MAGA hats, but they weren't part of it. They were part of the other side. Why is that not crazy? Why is that crazy? It's a perfectly legitimate thing to theorize. Why not? I don't know. It's very, very scary. I don't know why that's not a thing that people can't just like hang their hat on. Well, I guess they can't hang their hat on it because it's illegal. You can't talk about that. You can't talk about anything related to the election and whether it's legal, fraud. You're blocked. That's the scary reality that we're in. And like, there's nothing more to be said about that. Like, I think that's kind of frightening, all things considered. Just looking down here, really quickly. How's everyone doing? You guys having a good time? I thought it was funny. Biden announces U.S. will sanction Myanmar's military coup, I guess implying that, hey, if there's ever a coup, like the insurrection on January 6th, that's a no-no. and then like start doing a lot of crazy totalitarian things. Hey, by the way, hey, this is just democracy. If you try to undermine what I'm doing right now, that's a coup. That's wrong. By the way, every second-born male has to have one testicle cut off from the right. That's just the way we're going to do it. All right. Sorry, we just got too much testosterone. Cut that shit down. Hey, if you try to undermine this, that's a coup. That's wrong. That's insurrection. Stop it. I don't know. Maybe. I really hope the alien files come out. I hope Biden doesn't block those. That was exciting. Unpaid rent is piling up. Landlords can't hold on forever. No shit. No shit. Michael Berry just came out with his theory is that the markets are incredibly inflated, despite the Fed continually coming out saying, hey, we're not back to our old level. The equity markets are. Interest rates are at zero. You can't go anywhere further. I hope to gosh, I hope to God that I don't know what to say. Can I say God? That's that the markets come to or a realization. GME's over all this stuff. Wonderful. That's great. It was great. I'm glad people got rich, and they stuck it to the man, so to speak. But the debt markets are in trouble. I think charge-offs will happen. The rent deferments, you can't catch up on rent at this point. I think the markets are heavily inflated. Michael Burry said that the $1.5 billion Bitcoin was designed to offset. He's short Tesla, but he believes that China's regulation sanctions against Tesla right now are not because of a market share competition with others, but literally because it's legitimate to some degree, and Tesla, because of capex and whatever else, are trying to offset that. And the bad news publicly, they've bought 1.5 billion Bitcoin. But then again, Michael Saylor at MicroStrategy also bought 400 million of Bitcoin in December. There was no reason to do so then. If people keep getting checks from the government, the dollar keeps deflating. Why not? Why crypto? Universal minimum wage will kill. 66% of all cash has been printed in circulation in the last 6 months. Why would dollar's not attractive? Dollar's trash. That's why the markets keep going up, because it's trash. In order for the dollar to be legitimate again, we have to get these markets have to revert to the mean, so to speak, to some degree. I don't know how that's going to happen. Interest rates going up will help, and it is what it is. Very, 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 very scary. What else we got going on here? WHO, AstraZeneca, blah, blah, blah. Not really. Can't think of anything else. I do think it's funny the French are upset about the possible toxic masculinity in general. I think a Frenchman je peux pas dire non je peux la dire non je peux mais je peux pas je te dois tu es très belle, the same things in French that I sort of know. Voulez-vous coucher avant ce soir? Oui. Mais moi j'ai dit vent. J'ai pas vu. Non. Luc Tessier, oui. Quoi? So I just don't they're worried about that sort of rhetoric going into their school system. I think it's kind of hilarious. Catherine Deneuveau's whole thing about during the Me Too movement, that's utterly ridiculous. Men should just be men, and toxic masculinity is just part of who they are. It's not toxic. It's rambunctious middle schoolers are just being boys. Nothing to cull or change or socially re-engineer. Soy boy bullshit. Estrogen the highest levels in this country for men, and it's just testosterone at the lowest levels. People are wondering why. Well, plastics and soy and the push for plant-based foods and the whole vegan thing doesn't help with all that vegetable oil. It's very estrogenic. Big problem. We have a huge bloody problem on our hands in this regard, mate. And it's a big problem, man. Men should just be men and eat some red meat, but it's hard. It's very, very hard. I don't know. That's it. I'm trying to think. Is there something else we should talk about? Talk about the aliens. I don't have much to say about that. There's been some patents that were filed recently regarding alien technology, allegedly. Again, that's using anti-gravity, the precept of anti-gravity and refractive materials, basically to create zero gravity refractive materials suspend the idea that the speed of light is the fastest possible, speed. Well, it's only. I don't know. I don't have the expertise to possibly talk about this in a normal way without reading a little bit more. I can't say it off the cuff, off the top of my head, but it's interesting. Go to Tim Pool's website. I think he has a couple cool videos about that. But that's it. That's it. I hope everyone has a lovely day, lovely rest of the week. BenBen, click the like button down below. Thank you very much. I love you. You all are wonderful. You look beautiful. And I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.